Have you ever wondered why samurai were so intensely loyal to the point where they would choose death over dishonor? We often see this in movies, a defeated warrior calmly taking their own life. It seems extreme, but to understand it, we need to journey back in time and step into their world. This wasn't just about losing a battle. It was about a deeply ingrained code of honor that defined their entire existence. Today, we're going to unravel the complex web of philosophy, duty, and social pressure that created the legendary loyalty of the samurai. So, what was the driving force behind this unwavering commitment? It all comes down to a concept many of you have probably heard of: Bushido, or the way of the warrior. But Bushido wasn't just a set of rules for fighting. It was a complete moral and ethical framework for how a samurai should live and, if necessary, die. It was a fusion of ideas from Zen Buddhism, Shintoism, and Confucianism, creating a unique warrior philosophy. Let's break that down. From Zen Buddhism, samurai learned to face death with a calm, untroubled mind. Zen teaches that life is transient, like a cherry blossom that blooms beautifully but for a short time. By accepting this impermanence, a samurai could fight without fear of dying, focusing entirely on their duty in the present moment. This mindset was crucial for a warrior whose life was constantly on the line. Then there's the influence of Confucianism, which came from China. This philosophy placed a massive emphasis on social order, hierarchy, and, most importantly, loyalty. For a samurai, the most critical relationship was with their lord, or daimyo. This loyalty wasn't just a suggestion. It was an absolute moral obligation, much like the loyalty a son was expected to show his father. Betraying your lord was considered the most shameful act imaginable, a stain on your honor that could never be erased. And finally, Shintoism, Japan's native religion, contributed a deep reverence for ancestors and the nation itself. A samurai's actions reflected not only on them but on their entire family, past and present. Bringing shame upon oneself meant bringing shame upon one's ancestors and descendants. This created immense pressure to uphold the family name with honor and integrity. When you blend these three powerful influences, you get the core of Bushido. It wasn't written down in a single book until much later, but for centuries it was passed down through generations, shaping the heart and soul of the warrior class. The key virtues were things like courage, integrity, compassion, and, above all, loyalty and honor. Honor, or majo, was everything. It was a samurai's identity. Losing it was considered a fate worse than death. This brings us to the most dramatic expression of this code, seppuku, sometimes called harikari. This ritual suicide was the ultimate way for a samurai to atone for a failure, avoid capture by the enemy, or protest an injustice. It wasn't an act of desperation, but a highly ritualized and solemn ceremony. By taking their own life in this controlled, courageous manner, a samurai could erase their shame and die with their honor intact. It was a final, powerful statement of their adherence to Bushido. Imagine you're a samurai who has failed to protect your lord in battle. In the eyes of society and in your own eyes, you have failed in your most fundamental duty. You've brought shame upon yourself and your family. In this context, living with that shame was seen as a cowardly and selfish act. Seppuku, on the other hand, was seen as brave. It was a way to take responsibility for your failure and restore honor to your name. It was the last act of loyalty you could perform. The social structure of feudal Japan also played a massive role. Samurai were the ruling military class, and their position at the top of the social ladder came with immense responsibilities. They were expected to be moral exemplars for the rest of society, the farmers, artisans, and merchants. Their behavior was constantly under scrutiny. If a samurai acted without honor, they weren't just failing themselves. They were undermining the very foundation of the social order they were sworn to protect. This created a kind of shame culture, where the most important thing was how you were perceived by others. Your public reputation was paramount. In a guilt culture, like many Western societies, what matters most is your internal conscience. But in a shame culture, the fear of public humiliation is a powerful motivator. For a samurai, the thought of being seen as disloyal or cowardly was unbearable. Let's consider the famous story of the 47 Ronin, which perfectly illustrates this. After their lord was unjustly forced to commit seppuku, his 47 samurai became Ronin, or masterless warriors. They could have just moved on and found new lives. Instead, they spent over a year planning their revenge. After they successfully avenged their master, they knew they had broken the shogun's law. So, what did they do? They all calmly committed seppuku. They chose death to uphold their loyalty and honor, and to this day they are celebrated in Japan as the ultimate embodiment of the samurai spirit. Their story shows that loyalty to their lord and their code of honor transcended even their own lives. It's important to remember that this system wasn't static. It evolved over hundreds of years. During the long period of peace in the Edo period, from the 1600s to the 1800s, the samurai transitioned from being active warriors to more of a bureaucratic and administrative class. During this time, the ideals of Bushido were romanticized and codified. It became less about battlefield conduct and more about a moral philosophy for leading a disciplined life. The idea of absolute loyalty and dying for honor became even more entrenched in their cultural identity, even as the opportunities to do so in battle faded away. So, when we ask why samurai were so loyal, the answer isn't simple. It was a perfect storm of religious philosophy, social structure, and personal duty. Zen taught them to face death without fear. Confucianism demanded absolute loyalty to their lord. Shintoism instilled a deep sense of family and ancestral honor. And the strict social hierarchy meant that their every action was a reflection on the entire warrior class. Losing honor wasn't just a personal feeling of failure. It meant public humiliation, shame for one's family, and a betrayal of the very principles that gave their life meaning. In that world, for a samurai, a life without honor was no life at all. Seppuku wasn't a surrender. It was their final, defiant act of control away to prove that even in death, they were masters of their own fate and loyal to their code until the very end. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the world of the samurai. It's a fascinating and complex part of history that still captures our imagination today. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments what other historical topics you'd like me to explore next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.